are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Words. Oh my Lord. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 239 of the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck, your boy Tank on Twitter, talking you about the latest Auburn football news, which in that case, there's no real news to go over this week. I mean, we are getting ever so close to college football being back and just Auburn football being back in general. We are 16 days away from Auburn football. And because it's kind of been a slow week, I'm gonna combine the next two previews into one video, wrapping it up with the not the way too early season preview series, but the positional preview series we'll be wrapping up today, doing the secondary and special teams. So just to get started with the secondary preview, going into this year, Auburn has a pretty new look secondary in terms of DJ James and Nehemiah Pritchett. Jalen Simpson, Zion Puckett have all since left for the NFL. And, Auburn doesn't have Zach Etheridge anymore, have replaced him with Charles Kelly, the co-defense coordinator / safeties coach. Auburn's going to go into the year kind of still in the same scheme they were in last year. You're still going to have your two DBs, your two safeties, and your star. And that's kind of the look you're going to go in to the season with. So Keontae Scott is going to be the headliner of this defensive back core in the sense of last year he was a star in the position as well as a star player. He is now moving to the outside to play corner. He is not going to be a nickelback, a slot guy. He is going to be playing as cornerback one. He's going to be on the outside, playing against the best wide receivers in the SEC. Opposite of him is going to be Kyan Lee, a guy who, as a true freshman, came in and looked the part. He was one of those three main true freshmen who came in last year and absolutely just balled out. It was him, Keldrick Falk, and Connor Liu, all guys from the class 2023 class who just absolutely, everything and more. In terms of how they were advertised, because those three are just absolutely ridiculous. But that's your two defensive backs. That's going to be your two outside guys that you're going to be counting on to lock down some of the best wide receiver rooms in the SEC. I've not heard anything bad about Keontae Scott's transition over. So Keontae Scott is obviously athletic enough, and he's played corner before. And get the job done. And obviously, he's a leader on this defense. He's a leader on the team. I'm super excited to see how he performs at the outside corner. I expect big things from this defensive back room. Auburn is a team that I think underratedly gets kind of ignored from the DBU conversation. I don't think Auburn is up there with LSU or Ohio State, but top 10, I think, and in terms of defensive back production in the NFL, Auburn definitely has that locked down. But going into the slot, Champ Anthony has been taking the first team reps as the star. Champ Anthony's been the guy I've been a huge fan of ever since he transferred in, or since he came in from JUCO last year. A guy who size-wise was very small. I mean, it could definitely have been overlooked because of his height. But the film was off the charts. Champ Anthony was a guy who, despite being lighter than the receivers he was playing against, he would lay the boom on any receiver who crossed his path. Just an absolute willing tackler, fast. And has a great eye for the ball when it's in the air, from watching this film from last year. And glad to see him finally getting the starting job here. I think that he didn't play enough as his talent really asked for last year. So this year I'm expecting big things from Champ Anthony. I love being proved right, and Champ Anthony was one of those guys from last year that I was expecting a lot of things from last year. And now that I think he's pretty much won that star position job, I think he's in for a big season. I mean, last year Auburn had their starter in Keontae Scott as well as Donovan Kaufman coming in. The 1A and 1B star position players both had great years, and both just had great opportunities to make plays when they did. And I expect nothing less from Champ Anthony going into this year. Kind of moving back to the backfield of the secondary, you have Jaron Thompson, who's going to be that your starting free safety. He's pretty much had that job ever since he transferred in from Texas. Leader on the defense, makes plays, makes tackles. Clearly why he won the defensive player of the game from A-Day this previous over the offseason. The strong safety position is one that has not been decided yet. It's still going through the process of a competition between Caleb Wooden and Sylvester Smith. And you love the competition. Those two guys play pretty similarly. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense that those two are battling out for that starting role. You can't go wrong with either one of them. I think Sylvester, a freshman from last year, redshirt freshman, got his opportunity to play. And when he did, I mean, he could have had a chance to end up in that group of three that I mentioned earlier. Caleb Wood, of course, is a more veteran player. Made plays last year. I think playing more of the star role, kind of moving back out to safety. Caleb just needs some speed to him. I think there was one play last year where he had a chance to get a defensive touchdown and the offense caught up to him. And he had plenty of green grass to get there too. That position battle is still going to be going on well into the season, it seems like, which with the depth of the secondary, it makes perfect sense that you're going to get a lot of different looks just around the place. Looking behind Jaron Thompson, of course, Laquan Robinson, a guy who I was very high on when Auburn picked him up from JUCO this past recruiting class. I'm still very high on Laquan Robinson. Dude is an absolute athletic freak, and I cannot wait to see how he performs on the field this year. I actually, starting off, I had him up adjacent to Jaron Thompson in my original depth chart. But now seeing that he's playing more of the free safety, he's going to be behind Jaron Thompson, plenty of time to develop and becoming the dude going into the next year in 2025. And then got guys behind Keontae Scott and Kyan Lee. Antonio Kite has been taking the reps outside of behind Keontae Scott. Kite, of course, coming from Alabama, highly touted recruit, and just lights out man coverage defender. A guy that really fits the mold for an Auburn caliber defensive back. And there's a reason why Nick Saban wanted this guy. Nick Saban's known for his ability to recruit and develop high value defensive backs. And Antonio Kite's no different. He was a big deal whenever he transferred in, despite the fact he didn't really play that much last year. It was a huge deal that he transferred to Auburn because that gave Auburn immediate depth at the cornerback position. Right behind Kyle Lee's going to be guys like J.C. Hart, a guy who I think could be playing more of a star role as well as outside corner. J.C.'s made a lot of great plays in the spring. It was just overall made a lot of great plays whenever he gets in. Guys that I think kind of sucks. Tyler Scott, I think it really sucks that he's not going to be playing this year due to an ACL tear. I think that out of everybody, Tyler Scott was having one of the best springs on the team before his unfortunate injury. Cannot wait to see what he does for 2025, but kind of trying to figure out where the star position goes from there. You still have guys like CJ Johnson, still waiting for the game to kind of catch up to them, and guys across the board. I don't think you're going to see a lot of Kinsley Fawson this year. Caleb Harris, you might see some of him. He's been making plays in the scrimmages. But overall, I mean, the secondary is very, very good. And guys like, you have two freshmen that are coming in straight out of high school, and Jalen Crawford and Monlane Gaines, who honestly, I would be very shocked if they don't see the field often this year. Those two films are, again, off the charts. The Jalen Crawford is exactly what you want from an Auburn defensive back. He is just a relentless man coverage defender. Same with Amon Lane. You got two guys who have the same strengths in terms of they don't let guys get by them very often. Their strength is the man coverage game, which is something that Crime Dog and Zach Etheridge last year very much thrived on with DJ James and Nehemiah Pritchett. You had guys who were fast enough and were just so good at making sure that defenders didn't get behind them. Man coverage is Auburn's forte. It always has been, no matter who the defensive back coach is, no matter who the defensive coordinator is. The forte for Auburn defensive backs is always going to be their man coverage. And you get two guys coming straight out of high school where their strength and their game are strictly, I'm going to beat you up for 5 yards and then you're not getting by me. So that's awesome that Auburn has so much depth in the secondary. Again, they had it last year. I think depth has never been an issue Auburn's had the secondary position, at least for the past few years now, where Auburn has really been heavy on developing defensive, just very solid corners and safeties. Overall, I think that the secondary could be one of the SEC's most underrated. I don't know where it would rank in terms of how good it stands, like from 1 to 16. But there's veteran leadership. There's enough talent there to make any quarterback regret throwing the ball anyone's way. Last year, I know you had a lot of Jalen Simpson. I think you're going to get a lot of Jalen Simpson type plays with Jaron Thompson again. The free safety role always finds a way to ball out for the Tigers defense. But overall, yeah, underrated core in general. And I am so super excited to see how the secondary kind of molds out. You made a great hire and bringing back Crime Dog after he had, I think, had left the team. I can't remember exactly where he got hired to or where he was getting hired to before he came back. And then Charles Kelly coming from Colorado, great recruiter, great developer of talent. And of course, he's been here before. He knows Auburn just as much as everyone else. So can't wait to see how the secondary plays out. Again, I think overall this is one of the more underrated position groups on the team, most underrated position group in the SEC. And then last little preview we got before we move on and get out of here, because it's going to be a nice little quick show today. We might get to 20 minutes. Special teams preview. Before we get to special teams preview, I'm going to do a little ad break, and then we'll be right back to talk about the best positions on the team. So we'll be right back.
Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program.
Of course, the college loop hats on the first page of the War Report shop. When you get there, it's $25. It's an awesome hat. I'm currently wearing it right now. And you can also get the Feelin' Loopy t-shirt, which I just got out of the dryer, and I'll probably be wearing it this weekend. It's the most comfortable shirt I've ever worn in my entire life. 100% guaranteed. Best shirt ever. Go check it out. warreport.com. Click shop. And first page hat, second page shirt. Halloween's just around the corner. And what's a better costume to wear than a college loop fan? To dress up as a looper, everybody. But of course, don't forget, if you're enjoying the show, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Leave your thoughts. Who's going to be a stat leader for the secondary? Who's going to lead Auburn interceptions this year? Who's going to lead them PBUs? Defensive touchdowns, also a big one. Jalen Simpson was the leader last year and proved me right. I picked him for interceptions and touchdowns leader on the defense, and I'm safe to say, I'm wrong sometimes, but often not. I tend to show off that I do know a little bit of ball. But the special teams is a position group that I am very confident in this year. I think, honestly, kicker, you feel confident no matter what. Alex McPherson last year was perfect. He did not miss a kick last year. Overall, just one of the best kickers in the SEC and college football that don't get talked about enough. Overall, I would be shocked. I would not be shocked if I know he's dealing with some bowel issues, but I mean, the fact that Towns Magoo can come right off the bench for Alex and Auburn not skip a beat at the kicker position is outstanding. I mean, everyone has sat down and watched him during A-Day just drill kick after kick after kick after kick, especially the long one at the end to win it. I mean, dude, just having two kickers that can get the job done is awesome. And I can't really think of the last time that Auburn really had kicker depth. I'm trying to think how the time span went between Daniel and Anders. I think Anders was there for a year while Daniel was still the kicker. I think that might have been the last time you had that officially, at least. Then of course, I guess there was some leeway between Anders and maybe I'm wrong there. There you go. I'm wrong there. Just Auburn just had a great lineup of kickers throughout the years. It's one of Auburn's best recruited positions, and it doesn't stop there because they picked up John Allen McGuire, a 5-star number 2 punter and kicker in the class, and out of Thompson because Auburn recruits heavily in Thompson, class 2025. But again, it's so cool to see that Auburn. If Alex McPherson can't go for the season, just say I don't know how many games it would be. Towns Magoo can make sure Auburn doesn't skip a beat, doesn't miss a field goal for that. And then Alex McPherson comes back, and Auburn's still top of the game in terms of kicking the ball. And then on the other side of kicking the ball, Oscar Chapman, one of the best punters in the SEC, got a lot of action last year due to how lackluster the offense was. Hopefully get to see a lot less of Oscar Chapman, but very underrated punter that I don't think gets enough recognition. I don't even think I currently have the magazine in front of me going through, and I'm sorry if you can hear the pages kind of turn. It's making sure to give it a long while before it can actually turn over. But per feel still, there we go. Words are hard tonight. Oscar Chapman is not a top 4 punter in the SEC, which I think is a little blasphemous. Of course, he's been here for a while. Overall, I think he's a great punter who I think is going to get a shot in the league after this year. And then after that, you kind of going through your long snappers. Reed Hughes, very solid long snapper. Also just an incredibly funny dude. Kick returners, you're going to be looking at guys like Jeremiah Cobb, Malcolm Simmons, Bryce Kane, Jarquez Hunter are going to be your 4 main kick returners going into this year. I would like to think that Auburn could get a kick return touchdown this year, but I think punt returning is going to be Auburn's best case because Keontae Scott, of course, got one last year. Punt returns are going to be a little different. Keontae Scott, I think Malcolm Simmons getting some, and Bryce Kane, of course, as well, getting some tries at punt returning. Overall, I think Auburn has a pretty solid special teams group overall. And Auburn, I quietly going through all the position groups that we've gone through, Auburn secretly has one of the more undervalued rosters in the SEC. And of course, I don't think Auburn is a championship roster right now, but definitely a roster that is built to compete in the SEC, a team that is built to, maybe turn some of them single-digit losses into single to double-digit wins. You improved all the way through on the wide receiver room, the tight end room. You picked up some more depth there. You completely revamped your interior defensive line, and then you picked up some dudes for the outside and for edge rushing. In terms of Keon Crawford, you picked up a lot of depth in the linebacker room, which was much needed after last year. Secondary, we went through it, a lot of depth there, and you got some old faces in new places, as well as you see a lot of young faces running around in the backfield of the defense. Running back room, going to the offense side of the ball. Looks pretty much the same as last year. Jarquez is going to be the workhorse. Right behind him is Damari, and then Jeremiah Cabra after him. Offensive line, I think as a unit looks much better. I know that just kind of wait until the season kind of gets here to see how the chemistry plays out. And without a question that the wide receiver room is so much better than it was last year. And then lastly, Peyton Thorne is quarterback 1 going into this year. Offseason grade for this roster, I had to give Hugh Freeze an A. You turned a recruiting class, just Auburn recruiting around in just a year. You picked up the number 8 recruiting class in the country. You got Cam Coleman. You get the future of your wide receiver core in the Freeze 4. Overall, acquisition was an absolute A. And I don't think it's anything less than that. You picked up key players of in positions that you needed depth wise, as well as picking up stars that are talent that are going to give you production right away. So overall, again, I think Hugh Freeze knocked it out of the park, building a roster up. Again, I don't think this roster is a championship roster. I'm not bugging too hard about that. But there are games on the schedule where Auburn is not projected to win that I think Auburn can win based on the moves made in the offseason. Picking up guys again like Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson are going to do wonders for your wide receiver core. Picking up Percy Lewis at the left tackle position is gonna just help the unit of the offensive line just play even better together. You have an all SEC caliber tackle now on the offense, and then defensively, again, you picked up guys in the middle of the defensive line who can not only plug up gaps, but also potentially get to the passer, which something you didn't really have last year outside of Marcus Harris. And then overall, I mean, you picked up just key depth pieces in positions where you were running a little bit thin. So overall, acquisition was great. Again, A is where I would rank that. But that does it for the Some Other College Loop podcast. Thanks for tuning in. And of course, leave your comments. Who do you think predict Alex McPherson's field goal percentage and his longest field goal of the year for this season, as well as giving me your predictions for Auburn defensive back stat leaders. But of course, I am Dylan Larck, A-Boy10 on Twitter, and of course, I'm on Instagram as well at Dylan Larck, DYLEN, And of course, you find me right on the College Loop podcast. Would like, comment, and subscribe. Leave your thoughts again on everything I just said earlier. Leave your predictions for Auburn football, and just overall, what do you think of the talent acquisition Hugh Freeze did over this offseason? And of course, don't forget to check out the audio version of the show as well on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And of course, with all that being said, thanks for watching the Summit of the College Loop podcast. And as always, War Eagle.